poses assumptions that would be a problem. Instead of assuming it, please ask. In order for me to explain where my intersectionality is with my definitely several belonging to several minority groups, I need to probably start talking about where I come from and how this is all started. I'm born and raised in Turkey. If you don't know where Turkey is, it is considered a gateway to Europe and Asia. Istanbul, where I come from, the city, which is right now 15 million city, it's a big city. Half of the city is in the Europe side and half of it in Asia side. So there is a bridge, and it is the only place in the world you can go from Europe to Asia in 2 minutes by crossing that bridge on the Bosphorus. The reason I'm saying that, because that bridge is also very symbolic for my country. We do have the European ideas and background, but also primarily a Muslim country with definitely a cultural difference from Europe. Let me give you an example. I think here the right was given to women for voting purposes in 1919. In Turkey, that was given in 1924. So ahead of the many European countries, women had the right to vote in Turkey. And so there are several things are really very modern, very European, but at the same time, culturally, especially for women, probably we are behind here or Europe. So born there, attended elementary school and high school. So in secondary and high school, my parents, I consider them very open-minded, very future-thinking parents. I'm lucky that I come from a quite educated family, upper middle class family. So it was my brother 4 years older than me and myself. So they sent my brother from elementary school, age 7, as a boarding student to a French school. And they sent me a girls boarding school, age 11, to an American high school, American Academy for Girls in Turkey. So my parents never really separated me as a girl and from my brother. When my brother had, can go out age 14, 15 with his friends, they gave me the same right to go out with my friends, age 14, 15. Probably 19% of my high school friends couldn't date, but they let me date in Turkey, which was an incredible achievement for my family. I was lucky enough, although as I said, the whole country is a very much one culture, one religion. We were all Turks. We look like each other. We talk the same language. We were mainly Muslim country, 99% not Muslim country. we were all Sunnis, very few Shiites in Turkey. So it is a homogenized culture and country. But the school that I went, American Academy for Girls, was established late 19th century, 1880s, and established for the minorities in Istanbul, which were Armenians, Greek Orthodox, Armenian Orthodox, Jews, and I don't know if you don't know the history, a Greek Orthodox church is in Istanbul. We had a lot of Armenian Orthodox Armenians. The 17th and 18th century, when Jews are expelled from Spain and Italy, Ottoman Empire, during that time it was Ottoman Empire, accepted Jews. So there were a good, you know, pretty good population in Istanbul, a Jewish population. And my school founded to serve these minority women. After Turkish Republic was created in 1923, the school opened itself to Turkish women also. So I went to secondary and high school for 8 years, and I had a lot of Jewish, Armenian, Greek, Christian friends in the same class. So we raised like celebrating every religious holiday, celebrating every important day with all of us together, and really never knew that there was any kind of real difference between ourselves and ourselves, because they were our people too. They were Turks, happened to be in different religions and different beliefs. So I became blind after I graduated, a month after I graduated from high school, due to a brain surgery, and I was totally paralyzed at one point. I had a second brain surgery. So this whole thing happened in June, July, August of the year that I graduated from high school, and started university the next month. I wasn't brave, I wasn't smart, I wasn't intelligent. That wasn't the reason I started university, a month-old blind person. The reason I started because in Turkey at the time, and still is the same, you enter the university without going through 2 entrance exams. There were 500,000 people applied. They only had places for 150,000. So it is a very competitive entrance exam. And I entered and had the privilege to go to one of the best universities in Istanbul. So I knew because if you don't go at the time, then you lose your space. And I knew as a blind person, I wouldn't be able to probably enter any university because there was no accommodations at the time for the testing. So I started the university a month-old blind person. I graduated with my class, and again, it wasn't because I was smart, intelligent, or anything. Actually, I was the first blind person entered that university and graduated from that university. So neither me or the people in the university knew how to deal with me as a blind person. This was the time that computers were big as a room. We use punch cards for computers. We learned Fortran, COBOL Basic to run the computers. So, you know, accessibility is not as we know it today. So, but again, you know, it wasn't because the professors didn't know how to deal with me. I didn't know how to deal with me. Fortunately, I had so many classmates from secondary and high school that graduated with me, entered the same university, stay in the dormitory with me, that I had a chance to graduate. I truly share my diploma with at least 20 people of my friends. I really couldn't graduate without their support. So I had at that time probably the best education a Turk can have, could have, and not only a Turk, but probably anybody in the world could have. I knew English, I knew French at the time. I went to the best university and the best high school in Turkey, but I wouldn't hire me at that time. I was truly illiterate because as a blind person, I cannot read and write. I didn't know Braille. I didn't have any way of taking notes. I didn't know how to travel. I didn't know how to travel with a cane. So all these things, although I had a great education, truly I was not employable at the time. So I thought that definitely I needed rehabilitation training, and we didn't have one in Turkey. So my family decided to send me to United States. So at the time, the only rehabilitation center that accepted me was in Arkansas Enterprises for the Blind. Then it was Lions World, because it was a Lions rehabilitation center. So I came to United States to have blind rehabilitation. Now, that is the time that the intersectionality started with me. You know, until that point, people look at me with sorrow, with pity, as a blind person. I did not get that from my friends and family necessarily, but my culture is that, you know, we talk about isms a lot. My culture is a very much fatalism, I call, a very fatalistic country. You know, if you have something happen, it is because of fate. You know, it is not like some of the ideas that we have here that I heard, that bad things happen because either you had sin or your family sin. It's not like that. In my culture, things happen for a good reason or for a bad reason. It is fate. You know, it happened. God knows the best. That is given to you, and you know, you live with it and you do the best with it. That kind of a thing. So when I came to Little Rock, that was 1979-80. And that was the time where Iran hostage situation happened. So when they knew that, people knew that I was from Turkey, they automatically knew that it was from Middle East and it was a Muslim country. And there was a big kind of a reaction to Muslim people, doesn't matter where you were. So it is the first time I felt the pushback, really not to my blindness, but being a foreigner. And it is the first time I was a foreigner in a brand new country. And there were other things. I first time experienced the stereotype and prejudice and bias. I remember people saying to me, hey, did you bring opium with you? And I mean, I didn't even know what opium was, they were saying, did you bring pot with you? And I sure didn't know what that was. But being Turkey, they thought that it was the place that we supply drugs. Then I started kind of kidding around and say, hey, we Turks are very smart. We know that you all like pot and opium, so we sell it to you, but we never use ourselves, So it was kind of a kidding around, was kind of a defense mechanism to me at the time. And people like saying to me, well, you're from Turkey, you're Muslim, but you don't act like a Muslim. And it is the same exact thing we hear about blind people. They say, hey, Fatos, you don't act like a blind person, so I forget you're blind. I mean, people think that is compliment, but if you think about it, that's a left-handed compliment. Is that right? I mean, in this meeting, there are many females. And if I tell you, I said, hey, you know what? You drive so well, I forget that you're a female. I mean, you wouldn't like that. So it is the first time I begin to experience that things are different, and some of them are truly not related to my blindness, but my other minority, I have an accent, so people knew I was a foreigner. When I say I'm from Turkey, they knew I was Muslim. I'm a woman, I'm blind. So all of those, and I am not just a blind for an hour and a woman the next day, and a Turk next week. I am all those things all the time. And so that truly was my first experience. And then I met my husband, went back to Turkey, and married in Turkey, and come back to United States and start living here in Tulsa, actually, before we moved to other states. But during that time, in 1981, 82, 83, my husband is also blind. So when we go out and walk around, and I mean, it was almost daily that somebody stopped us on the sidewalk, or somebody just braked in front of us with the car and got out. Or when we go to a meeting, that they ask, I mean, I don't know why they don't ask Michael, but my husband, but they ask me always, like, can I put my hand on your head and pray for you to be healed? That was new for me, because although in Turkey, I probably live in a lot more conservative country in some ways than here. I never had that experience in Turkey. I never had anybody say to me, let me pray for you so you can be healed. But it was every other day here in Tulsa. And I'm not a practicing Muslim, so I really never used that as a barrier before. But I started saying, hey, no, it's not going to work for me because I'm Muslim. You know, that was again my kind of protection, because I knew at that time, and still do, there's nothing for me to be healed. I am a whole person, same as happen to be woman. I happen to be short, happen to be Turk, I happen to be blind. So I never felt like I needed to be healed, or you know, my life will be better if I see. I never believed in that. So that was kind of a protection for me. And until that time, I never revealed that I was Muslim because I really didn't need to do that. So moving forward, I lived in many states. I worked in many states. And I was in, I believe I was in Nebraska. No, I'm sorry, I was in St. Louis working when the bombing of Oklahoma City happened. And again, the first initial ideas was terrorism, and Muslims did the bombing. Actually, the same day, one of the mosques in St. Louis also bombed. So again, you know, not people that know me well, but in the community, although afterwards it was, they were realized it wasn't a terrorist attack, external terrorist attack, they still have that pushback. Same thing happened. I was in Nebraska after 9/11. So sometimes it gets confusing if it is a pushback to your blindness, a stereotype to your blindness, or being a woman, or being Muslim. And I experienced that as a manager. I've been a manager last 27 years. I did supervise a lot of staff. I hired and fired a lot of staff. And sometimes, especially working with a male staff, white male, that staff, that the pushback, and you know that there is something there, but again, it is hard to know if that is because I'm a woman, a Muslim, blind, and now, of course, I'm 65 years old. I just turned 65, celebrating that. And now I have the age also, you know, being an older individual, you know, that also might be affecting. So what do we need to do? There are a lot of responsibilities that I have to educate, to talk openly about my own experiences and my own beliefs, because what happens is that when you get the treatment from others, you have the stereotype and a bias and ableism from other people, you think sometimes that everything people do is because of that. Let me give you a couple of examples. Mike and I went to a 5-star restaurant to celebrate one of our special days. I can't remember now, it was our anniversary, wedding anniversary, or one of those days or birthday. We are sitting there, dressed the part, we are ordering, we are having a good time, and at the end of the meal, we asked for the bill, and our server said, well, that's taken care of. Now, there are several things here. I am absolutely sure that it is because we were blind, both of us blind. Somebody got the idea that, oh, you know, I will help out. I mean, if I didn't have the money, if I could not afford it, I wouldn't go to a very expensive restaurant to have a meal. And I'm sure nobody in that restaurant buys somebody else's dinner. I mean, it is not like a Starbucks, you know, you pay forward for somebody else. I mean, this is a restaurant. So we had the choice, and the people left already, so we didn't know who it was, and we couldn't, I mean, there's no way you could refuse. So we gave exactly the same amount with the plus the tip to our server. Because at that restaurant, I thought that the person that needs the most is our server, not somebody else, you know, eating there, because they will have the income to go there. So that was definitely in my head, that definitely is kind of a nice, I don't know how to put it, but it is an insult to me. I mean, that really truly took the happiness out of that meal for me, because we were celebrating, and we are also celebrating that we worked hard, we earned like anybody else, that we could go and spend our own money in a restaurant.
Fatos, you've got about 10 minutes, and I don't want to derail you, but could you maybe talk a little bit about your work with people with disabilities and some of the common issues they face?
Sure, absolutely.
Great.
So yes, I work with people with disabilities, although my specialty and many years I spent only with blindness. Last 3 years, I had the opportunity to work with all people with disabilities. And again, with all the people with disabilities that I met, they also have other characteristics. They have the different ethnicity, they have different sexual orientation. So none of us are the same, but probably the most common thing that people, when they look at us, they have an emotional reaction to disability. Either this goes, and because of this emotional reaction, the behavior changes. So, and that behavior change is actually the barrier to us that causes the stereotypes and the prejudice and the bias, and it causes the ableism. So it goes 2 ways. One, really severe emotions on pity, sadness, which actually we do not share. I am an incredibly happy person. I never look at myself and feel pity to myself. I don't feel sadness to myself, but people that look at me do. And or we call inspirational porn. If you go to YouTube, there are a lot of examples of inspirational porn. When able-bodied people look at us, they feel inspired with us doing a normal daily life. If they see me or Jennifer walking on the sidewalk with our canes, people rush to me and say, "Oh my God, you're so inspiring, just walking on the sidewalk." Now, you know, we are really not here to inspire I mean, if I did something really incredible, of course, I will be inspired, but not when I go to grocery store, when I live my daily life. That shouldn't be inspiring for people. So what I need to ask you is today is, we all have stereotypes, we all have prejudices. Knowing them, identifying them, and thinking that they are barriers for us, for our relationship, that's the thing that all of us need to think about. Again, we are not, Jennifer and I have stereotypes and prejudices for different things, you know, but just identifying them, not acknowledging and working on it really makes everybody's life better. So I'm going to stop here because I have probably about 5 minutes. Any questions? Again, any question you can ask, I will be ready to answer. If one person starts asking, the others will. Who will be the bravest among you?
I have a question.
Okay.
What is something that I can do to help my clients with a disability as an able-bodied person?
That is a good question. You know, I guess asking the individual what the needs are is very important, instead of assuming it. When I'm walking around as a blind person in a meeting room, people think that I am just lost. But that is the only way I look around. Is that right? You enter as a sighted person in a room, you look around with your eyes. The way that I find my way around in that room is walking around. So instead of grabbing me and say, "Can I help you?" and take me to, force me to go somewhere, you can just say, "Hey, do you need any assistance?" And I say no. But when I say no, please don't have a heart break, because a lot of times people, when we say no, I don't need assistance, people really say like, "Oh, be that way," you know, they really take it negatively. So just ask the person what the needs are.
Thank you.
Anything else? Well, Jennifer? If you are talking, Jennifer, you are muted. So
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I mean, I guess if nobody has any questions,
Hi, this is Kathy Ishcomer. I have a question.
never mind.
One
Sure.
question. You were talking about the incident in the restaurant where you assumed it was because you were blind.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever gotten so used to the prejudices that you've misread someone?
Yes.
Because I was thinking that could have been because you were celebrating an anniversary and they were happy about that.
But people didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and most of the time, probably half of the room there was celebrating. That's a place that you don't go like every day,
Okay.
you know? But that happened. That happened in another restaurant. In Sikeston, Missouri, the roll that they throw the rolls. So Mike and I again went there, and again the server said, no, that's taken care of by the owner. Well, at that time we didn't make any deal out of it, and we said thank you, and we found out that that is being regularly done. They pick a number of the table in that restaurant, and in every lunch they pick a couple of numbers, and they pay those tables, you know, by the owner. So yes, I mean, I could have said no way, or you know, could make a deal. I mean, fortunately I didn't, and learned afterwards. But yes, that could happen very much.
Thank you.
But at the same time, there are some occasions that I saw. Again, one more thing. Mike and I, we were in Nebraska and shopping for shoes, and we bought several. Probably we spent $400 or $500. We were laughing around and sharing that we were going to Turkey for our holiday, and asked to go to the mall for more shopping. You know, the direction, and we went out, and somebody ran after us and said, you know, hey, you know, could I pray for you? And I was like, okay, so let me understand this. You know that we have money because we spend a lot of money. She was in the same store with us. And we talked about going to Turkey for a holiday. We were going more shopping. We look healthy, we look happy. I said, for what reason you're going to pray for me? So sometimes it is definitely the reason that is because we were blind. So sometimes it is very apparent, and sometimes definitely not. Any other questions?
I'm curious, do you know of any mental health practices to use with people with disabilities, and like with internalized ableism? I think that's pretty prevalent. You know, how do you overcome that? Like, do you have a method? I don't know.
Well, actually,
maybe that was poorly asked.
Not here in Oklahoma, but when I was the director of the Nebraska Center for the Blind, with all the people that we use as counselors and psychologists and psychiatrists, we did in service, because it is very prevalent for us to go to psychologists and for example, depression, and immediately the mental health specialist idea is that we are depressed because of our disability. And so, and that is truly an ableism. You know, I mean, I've been blind for 45 years. You know, I might be depressed the first year, but since then, I mean, I have other stuff, but you know, it is not due to blindness at all. So yes, we did the in-service training with all of them and talked to them extensively that they should not automatically think that all the problems we have is related to our disability.
Thank you. Okay, well, if we don't have any more questions, thank you so much, Fatos.
Oh, you're welcome. It is really a pleasure to meet all of you and share my thoughts with all of you.
Everyone, there is a link in the chat to complete the survey so you can get those CEUs. Thank you again,
Thank
Fatosh.
you.
It was great to hear your story. All right. Bye, guys.